So this is the front of my arrangement. You can see my iris, really eye-catching. That's my wildflower, and that is repeated through the arrangement and up to the back as well. There's also the alliums in that follow the same sort of path as those irises. I've got my triangle of white roses to this side. I've got other white roses repeated on the other side. I filled in with my in-betweeny flower of my yellow freesia, which picks up on the yellow of my iris here. And then for my wispy flower, I've got the epitorum, which is the little white flower here, and also the little buds on my lilac as well. And as you saw from the beginning, really filled out with greenery. So it looked really lovely as a greenery arrangement on its own, but I think it looks really superb with the flowers added. So although I said it's a front-facing arrangement, the front-facing arrangements do need to have sort of a three-quarter aspect to them. So if I turn the arrangement to its side, you then start to see the second placement of rose here, and then round the back, this is a bit which is going to be up against my wall. It's still got some structure in there, but it's got a much flatter and duller back, because of course I want all my flowers to be seen from the front, but you do want to be able to see through some depth through your arrangement, so it's just not, you know, it needs to be more three-dimensional in quality rather than looking very flat. You can keep adding flowers in. As long as you can get them in the water, keep adding them in. You just need to make sure that you're checking how much water's in your vase, so getting your fingers and poking them up over the edge. There's a lot of flower stems in there and they will be taking up the water quite quickly. As you see things starting to fade, you could be pinching bits out and going through, and any petals or leaves. I just noticed there that I've damaged one of the freesias when I put that in. So all the time just making it looking absolutely perfect. And as you take materials out, you could perhaps add new materials in. So I've got my lovely parrot tulips, which I bought because I like the textural interest of those buds there. And I've not had opportunity to put them into this vase because really I can't fit anything else in the vase. But you could do, if you were so inclined, to come back in and just very gently start to add even more flowers in. Now the fantastic thing about tulips, and I'm making this arrangement in the springtime, is they have this natural curve to them. So with the tulips, it looks like they're hugging the edge of the jug, got quite a rounded jug, and they're just following the curve of the jug. And seamless really, where the arrangement begins, where the jug. So I could just keep adding those in, just being really, really careful as you get to the finishing touches. You don't want to be damaging anything. And I would start to hold the flowers to the edge, push what else you've got in the vase back, and then feed your flowers through really carefully. And that's creating actually a really nice sort of collared edge around the bottom of the vase there. And really partly disguising the shape of the vase, so you can see it, but it's not the thing that's on display. What you really want to look at, all these beautiful flowers, rather than the vase itself. And as I've got a few more stems, I will peel off the leaves and recut. And just where I can see a gap, I will twist and turn the last of those tulips in. And the beautiful thing about the tulips is that as they open and mature, they grow a little bit and they'll move towards the light. So when I come and look at this arrangement tomorrow, it will have changed slightly. So if you're making this in the summertime, you'll have different flowers that you can use, but think about your wows, your in-betweenies and your wispies, and build the arrangement up bit by bit, concentrating with one flower at a time to create a really balanced look. I'm just going to get that last tulip in. I think that's in there. So I shall clear away and one last look around. So I'm really looking forward to seeing your arrangements and what containers you decide to use. And I would say of all the projects that you've been doing throughout the course, being able to make a vase of flowers in a very traditional, casual, country looking way is a really great skill. And the trick is lots of greenery if you can get hold of it, and lots of flowers just to make it a really over the top and luxurious look. I thought you'd like to see what my arrangement looks like 12 to 24 hours later, and there are a few minor adjustments that I need to make. I don't know whether you can see this bit of greenery at the end. This was the hydrangea that I've picked from the garden. It's a shrubby hydrangea rather than the normal bloom plant that you'd expect to see. And I did say that I was slightly concerned because of the new growth that was going to droop, and lo and behold, overnight it has drooped. So I've got two options here. One is I can try and pull the stem out, but because I've put so many flowers in my stem, I'm slightly nervous that if I do pull too much, it's going to end up with everything shooting out of the vase. So what I'm going to do is take my scissors and go in and just carefully go back as far as I can, as if actually I'm pruning it from the bush as it was out in the garden, and snipping it off. And there you can see it didn't like being in that vase, so I just get rid of it. I've also taken out two of my tulips. Do you remember I added those in right at the end of the video, and they were put in the back here, and I discovered they weren't in water, so they were flopping, so I've taken those out and put them in the vase because I couldn't corkscrew them down far enough to get them secure. So turning the arrangement round, I'm noticing I've got a bit of a stick here as well, which is a bit of a hard edge. So you've got everything, you know, is nice and smooth and gentle, and then you end up at this stick. So I'm going to cut that off there. And in fact, I've got another tulip there that isn't in water, and you can see when they're not in water they go really, really droopy. So I could either put that in another vase or recut the stem, and this time make a much more of an effort to get that right down into the vase. And in fact it's not going to go, so I will take that out and it will straighten up again, and I can have that in another vase. And the only other adjustment I'm going to make is, you remember I had a piece of conifer out at the back of my arrangement, and really when I'm having the flowers pushed up against a wall, it's getting in the way. So I will try and wriggle that one out. That one has come out. And I'm going to cut that down a little bit shorter and reposition that into the front of the vase. Hopefully with that being a stiffer stem as well, it will go down. I've got a much more power behind it, and with the tulip I couldn't do that because it's got such a soft stem. So you can see also that my irises have opened out, the back irises have started to open out, so you can really see those forming that line through the middle of the arrangement. And then I've got my triangle of white roses here, and then the repeated triangle over at the back. And looking close to the arrangement, I can see my pink rose recessed. And we talked before about how the draping pieces of greenery at the front were cuddling the edge of the pot, so that the pot and the arrangement were as one. Now there's one more thing I'm going to change, is around at the back here, I've got these lovely stems of lilac, and are they going to come out? I just feel they're too far around the back. And although you do need some depth in your arrangement, I think because they're so pretty and short lasting, very short season, that I want to make it look a bit more prominent. So again, spinning the vase around so that I can see where the front is, I will reposition that so that it has more of a centre stage location. On the front, I'll move over there so I can see that coming up here. And in fact, the way I've put it in, it's sticking up that way, and actually I wanted to go in that way so it looks like it's draping out and over. So I'm going to cut it a bit shorter, and then that'll slide in and I'll have more control. That's perfect of where I want it to go. So where you've got shaped items like the freesia that hook over one way, I would always make sure that they hook so they come out of the arrangement rather than curling into the arrangement, if that makes sense. So it's always a really good idea to look at your flowers where you're actually going to have them and just make some finer adjustments, and just make sure that when you see the arrangement that it is looking good from all angles. So this will be pushed up against this wall here. You can't see, but there's a door over here. So as I come into this room here, the first thing I see is this rose on this side, and then from the rest of the room I can see the front of the arrangement. So as we spoke before, it is a front-facing arrangement, but it has got this 3/4 dimension to it, so it's not a flat-fronted and very static design. And as that moves and changes over the next few days, the irises will open up, the freesia will open up, and it'll all change and look a little bit different. So that's all from me, and I will see you in the next video.